constitutes a quorum.
Our invocation this morning, Commissioner Johnson will join us in just a moment. Our invocation this morning will be delivered by Pastor David Barber from the First Congregational Church in Fort Worth. Welcome this morning, and then after the invocation, please remain standing for the pledge.
May we join our hearts in prayer. Spirit of life, lover of justice, author of peace, we know that our community is plagued by racism, tainted by poverty in the midst of affluence, and haunted by homelessness. We cannot solve all of these problems, but working together we can do better. And we know that you expect us to move toward the beloved community where every person is respected, every mouth fed, every body has health care, and every head has a roof over it. In the midst of all of our other business, we ask that you especially bless our work toward that end. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible. Could you tell?
Pastor Barber, thank you very much for your prayer this morning. That was very, very good. Mr. Manius, agenda announcements.
Your Honor, members of the court, we have various announcements this morning. The first deals with the proclamations and resolutions. As it relates to item 6A, there is a new court communication in your book with some revised names. Also, when we get to that particular item, we're going to actually deviate somewhat from our agenda this morning. What we're going to do is, after the approval of the minutes and before proclamations and resolutions, if we could go to the briefing agenda, we'll be taking a briefing item. It'll be item 12A. This is a report from the Arlington Chamber of Commerce regarding economic development issues within the city of Arlington. And once that is completed, we'll move back to the regular agenda. Also, members of court, under purchasing, item J1. This concerns the sale of recycled paper. There's a new court communication in your folder this morning. This is a standard issue, though that paper is bid out on a Monday, and we're not able to get into the books until on Tuesday, so you have that. Also, on item J2, this is bid number 2008-082. There is a new court communication in your red folder as it relates to this particular one, and that court communication is revised from the previous one, and Mr. Beecham will explain that when he comes up here after a while. Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you. Court members, you have before you the minutes of our regular meeting of May the 6th.
Move approval.
Second. We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously. At this time, we will, as Mr. Manius indicated earlier, we'll call on West Jury to come forward and make a presentation to the court. Welcome, sir.
Your Honors,
I see you brought along with you one of our old friends, John Wiest.
I believe the court's acquainted with Mr. Wiest, who's now employed by the Chamber as our Vice President for Government Relations. Judge, I want to thank you. I want to thank members of the Commissioner's Court. I want to thank G.K. Manius and the staff at the county. We've enjoyed since 2001 a partnership with you that we believe has been mutually beneficial to the eastern portion of Tarrant County. And I say that because it's important you know at the outset that the Arlington Chamber views economic development truly from a regional perspective. We've yet to be able to identify a distinctive Arlington economy, a Fort Worth economy, or frankly an economy regarding any city in North Texas. And continued efforts, people like Ray Perryman indicate that the economy of North Texas really is a very strong regional economy and growing. And we believe the most effective thing we can do is understand that regional economy and think of ways in which we can collectively and collaboratively be constructive. And so we appreciate the opportunity to report to you on what's truly been a partnership with the Tarrant County Commissioners Court. In 2001, the Chamber formally developed an initial 5-year plan. We engaged the court in that plan, and Commissioner Marty Van Ravensway specifically represented Tarrant County as we thought and talked and planned the things that would really be impactful for the future. And we included as well the city, the University of Texas at Arlington, Tarrant County's Community College District, and Workforce Solutions for Tarrant County, as well as our Independent School District. Let's get to the results. Since the launch of that plan, we've collectively created nearly 15,000 jobs. The tax base in that portion of Tarrant County has grown from $14 to $17 billion. There's an additional current $4 billion in announced capital investment also on the table, all of that producing new county tax revenues. In terms of the direct work we've done and are currently doing with the county, it includes work on the JPS Hospital, transportation and mobility work regarding Eastern Tarrant County, and specifically community development focused around one of the poorest census tracts in Tarrant County, the central portion of the Arlington community. Let's talk about those quickly one at a time. I'm currently pleased that the court's chosen to appoint me as chairman of a committee that's evaluating the role that JPS can play in Arlington. And true to the court's charge, we've looked very carefully at how we can review those services, how we can assess the community's needs, and how we can ensure that JPS's interaction is, to the extent possible, collaborative with other private and not-for-profit healthcare providers, in addition to others in the community. The committee to date, to give you a status report, has engaged with not only other healthcare providers in the community, we've also engaged with United Way agencies and other similar types of nonprofit care providers to understand the challenges they all face, to assess the healthcare needs in the community, and determine to what extent possible we can bring recommendations back to the court, we trust this September, that would encompass JPS' role in collaboration with all of those other healthcare providers. And I think that spirit of collaboration is beginning to grow from those committee meetings. Secondly, Team Arlington is a concept that was launched concurrent with that strategic plan in 2001-02. You, the county, have been a part of that concept from the beginning, and Judge, I'm pleased you've been able to go on some of our Team Arlington delegation visits. We determined early on that one of the most effective ways we could go about seeking state and federal funding for Eastern Tarrant County was to do it collaboratively again. That the Chamber, working with the county, working with the city government, the university, our community college system through Tarrant County College District, through the independent school districts, as well as through the Tarrant County Workforce Board, could be impactful in thinking about the broad initiatives necessary to foster that economic growth, and then to collectively go to Austin and go to Washington and tell that story. Again, the results, you see 3 of them there. The bottom line, this collaborative partnership we've enjoyed with you secured over $500 million in direct support for these kind of initiatives. One of the most critical examples is the $258 million ultimately secured to construct bridges on Interstate 30 in that eastern portion of Tarrant County that has and will continue to drive significant economic growth, while at the same time eliminating some of the critical mobility and transportation challenges we've had. We've also added over $215 million at UT Arlington for research. I'll point to you that Silicon Valley, often envied, is driven by 8 top-tier research universities, and that economic activity spawns over a fairly large area of Northern California. And in a similar fashion, growing the research capabilities of UT Arlington will spawn over Tarrant County and the broader metroplex. Okay, I think the technician wizard behind the screen may have to help me because...
Just hit it. Yeah, there you go. Now you can.
There we go.
There you go.
Let's play down a little deeper into this report. In 2003, Commissioner Van Ravensway co-chaired what we call the Central Arlington Initiative. At the time, there were separate plans for the development of Central Arlington, separate in terms of the county, the city, and the economic development factors. But we were able to focus on one of the poor census tracts in Tarrant County by bringing together 30 stakeholder groups who all had various types of interests in this area. And they all collectively came together under the leadership of Commissioner Van Ravensway, the president of our university, the mayor of our city, and the chairman of the Chamber's board. And out of that, we identified areas of agreement and consensus. We continued to focus on what was and still is one of the poor census tracts in Tarrant County. The plans all of those partners adopted have resulted in HUD approving a neighborhood revitalization strategic area, allowing significant federal funding to be spent in that area. You're building your county sub-courthouse within that NRSA, adjacent to the chamber and other downtown drivers. And a critical driver has been Team Arlington securing the funds for what will be the Center Street Bridge, bringing you directly into that portion of central Arlington. As a way of quickly anecdotally explaining the importance of that, anyone on this court could explain how to find downtown Fort Worth. You take I-30 west. If you're coming from the east, you take the downtown exit, you dead end at Sundance Square. When I came to interview at Arlington and said, how do I find downtown, they literally said, we'll need to send you a map and directions. And I would ask the court how you ever develop an area of any portion of a county when people need a map and directions to simply find it. You see illustrated one of the bridges that will be built from the funding we collectively secured. You see the type of illustration it provides. And if you think for a moment, the central sector of Arlington will be developed because there will be access to the Center Street Bridge. The entertainment district that now has over $1.5 billion in planned development will be supported by the Baird Farm Road Bridge, providing access into that area. In fact, the developer, Yaramir Steiner, made public this statement. He said, I would not be planning Glory Park were it not for the fact that you're building bridges, enhancing the mobility, enabling people to have access to your geographically desirable location. The retail district, through the elimination of the loops at the Collins Street Bridge, you may recall that that road was designed to keep people on it, not allow people to get off and on it effectively. And you may not even recall this, but when you got off at Collins Street exit, you drove for about 1.5 miles before you ever actually hit Collins Street. And so that's been one of the effective eliminators in that. And also out of this funding comes a new bridge at 360 Division and Interchange. That's going to help traffic on 360. That will also stimulate the growth of that industrial district, which again will provide a significant tax benefit for Tarrant County. Drilling down a little deeper again in the central sector, we completed a unified master plan, increased developer interest. That resulted in the creation of a redevelopment corporation that's now evaluating real opportunities, partnering with Fannie Mae, HUD, and the Texas Department of Housing and Community Affairs. The entertainment district, as you know, with nearly $2 billion in announced development, now includes the new Dallas Cowboy Stadium, Glory Park, the convention center's proposed expansion, and 3 announced hotels. In the retail district, you see the glorious loops at I-30 and Collins that will be eliminated. And I hope that you will take note, all of what you see in the middle of the slide is a TxDOT maintenance yard that doesn't provide any tax benefit to Tarrant County. That 70 acres has been described as some of the most desirable development opportunity within Tarrant County. And I think you can imagine what can happen when that land goes onto the tax rolls and the kind of development occurs there that should occur within the near future. Drilling even deeper, because of this type of increased mobility, the University of Texas at Arlington has brought developers in and created the concepts of College Town, looking at UTA Boulevard to serve as a college town with 4-story buildings, retail and commercial service uses on the ground floor, residential units for market-rate apartments. It's designed to complement the downtown master plan and encompasses nearly 200,000 square feet of proposed development. This has also spurned the Hatala project. If you've not kept track, there hasn't been a great deal of development in central Arlington recently. This is a nearly $6 million planned development. That building, you see the artist's concept, is proposed to be complete. The first building in 2009. It's going to be a 3-building technology campus. It is directly adjacent to the Center for Innovation at Arlington, which houses the Arlington Technology Incubator. And that's also a site that's beginning to spur interest from high-tech industry. We had a company from India 2 weeks ago who described themselves as the Hewlett-Packard of India, indicating if they come, they want to locate adjacent to the university. This has also spurred related development. Center Street infrastructure, the Levitt Pavilion, the Shelton Project, the Vandegrift Building, and Johnny High and Babes expansions, all of those driving both mobility and the ability of redevelopment within that sector of our community in your county. Again, one of the poor census tracts. And the bottom line is that the Central Arlington Initiative has driven fundamental change in the transportation system for the eastern portion of Tarrant County. The county bond election, which we supported, helped advocate for, and helped raise money for, has also been a real factor in that, and we've worked with you to advocate for both the projects and coordinate with the various partners to assure that these plans are successfully implemented. We want you to know that we're pleased to be a partner with the court in this manner. We recognize that the county's development is critical to our development. I'd be pleased to answer any questions the court may have.
We sure appreciate your presentation today, and we also appreciate you chairing that Arlington committee. I think I've heard a lot of good things, and it sounds like you've had some pretty good meetings and active meetings, and hopefully those will continue, and we'll have some good dialogue in September.
Well, I think that you, the court, doing that is fostering the kind of dialogue that's needed. We've had meetings with the other health care providers in JPS. We've had meetings with United Way agencies and the new president of the United Way in JPS. We're having meetings next month with additional providers and partners and the MHMR system. And again, your county administrator, GK, has been instrumental in helping support this, as have you. And we think we're going to find some ways in which JPS can both collaborate with and complement the health care delivery needed by many people in eastern Tarrant County.
Wes, what's the anticipated start on Glory Park?
They're looking at a 2010 first phase completion, breaking ground sometime this year. What's important to understand is that there are about 4 different layers of public funding coming into that project and multiple different private sector financiers. And a part of the challenge, you recall, was so great that the city and Glory Park had to actually sue themselves in court so that the court would declare that the ways all of those various public funding streams supported the project were legal, because the private sector financing was unwilling to step forward and sign off on the final documentation until they were ensured that all of those various public funding streams were legal. Then with the financial markets in the current state they're in, they're going back and they've had to reline up how the various private financing sectors fall, but that's still well underway, and we still expect them to break ground this year and have the first phase open at some point in 2010.
Okay.
Wes,
Yes, sir.
at the risk of incurring the further wrath of the city fathers of the city of Arlington, I applaud the growth and economic vitality of that community. But the plan that you have presented us this morning, dealing with transportation improvements, deals strictly with ways to get cars around the city of Arlington. And that's not the way of the future.
I agree.
Talk to me about that forbidden word in the city
Public
of
transit?
Arlington. Public mass transportation.
I'll say it. We can talk out loud about that word. In fact, you might even be surprised and shocked to learn that the Chamber is highly supportive of public mass transit. One of the things that I was taught long ago, Commissioner, is that there are 2 things that truly drive economic development, and really only 2. And an economist who served on Reagan's Economic Advisory Council told me that. He said, despite all of the wonderful charts we spin out talking about pent-up supply-side industrial demand, economies simply generate wealth, recirculate it within the communities it was generated in, or watch it go to other regions. He told me to do 1 and 2 and try to avoid 3. And he said the other thing you need to understand is that the ability to move people and product quickly and effectively and efficiently into and out of the areas you hope to develop it is paramount. And so if you think about that, what we've shown you today is simply one of the things that needed to be done. Because simply put, because we are so dependent on automobiles in Tarrant County and our city, it was critical people could at least access from the interstates the city. But having said that, passenger rail is equally critical and mass transit within the city is equally critical. And we look forward to working with the court to support those initiatives as well, and we've been very public about that. We cannot improve our community if we can't enable people to get to a job. It may even surprise you to know that one of the programs the Chamber currently works with is called Ways to Work. We sought and received approval to receive JARC funding. As you love acronyms, I guess we have to use one, but it's Department of Transportation funding earmarked to help people get to work. Those funds supported by funds from the McKnight Foundation, have enabled our Chamber Foundation to make low-interest loans to people who needed a car to get to work to improve their liability, their ability to earn a living. And so we've made a number of those car loans since we started this program, and we do that in cooperation with the Tarrant Workforce Board. When they have someone trying to get a better job in Arlington and they don't have a way to work, in other words, the only job they can get is the one they can walk to, we've been able to make loans to people with poor credit histories who, but for a way to work, could get a better job, a better paying job, and improve their own ability. And those people then have a car, and they get to a job, and they get to work. And that's still not the solution. I recognize that. But we're doing everything we can do at the moment to ensure that we do support people who need that type of assistance. We're also currently working with the Texas Workforce Commission to administer 2 innovation grants. One of those is solely focused on how do we help people find careers in advanced manufacturing that are good-paying jobs for people who need them. But I will make a pledge to you that the Chamber will work with this court to support public mass transit in the eastern portion of Tarrant County and as a partner throughout North Texas.
I think this court is firmly on record as supporting regional mass transit.
It's needed.
And we would be pleased to work with you and other cities in Tarrant County to try to make that happen.
You have our support.
One thing that is different with the Chamber from what had been in the past, the Chamber in the city of Arlington had a financial relationship. And the Chamber realized in order to be a better partner with all of Tarrant County, and especially the eastern portion of Tarrant County, they needed the autonomy that comes with separating that relationship. So while they're still partners, there's not that financial connection. And it's been a real privilege to work with the folks at the Chamber with their can-do attitude. It's been really a lot of fun to develop a partnership that we've never had before with the county and the Chamber and all the other governmental entities that were brought together. I think the eastern part of Tarrant County has seen a lot of benefit from those partnerships.
Have you, along the lines of what Commissioner Brooks was asking, have you all done surveys or studies on your traffic patterns of folks in Arlington? Are they working in Arlington? Are they working Fort Worth, Dallas County? Have you done anything that really kind of identifies where folks are going and coming?
We have, and it's both. We have thousands of people leaving Arlington for jobs in other cities every day, and we have those staying. But by the same token, we have thousands of people coming into Arlington every day from other cities in North Texas. It's almost a wash. We have nearly as many people leaving as we have coming in. The General Motors plant is a good example. They employ people from all over North Texas, of the nearly 3,000 people working there. And so there's not a pattern that says the people in Arlington work in Arlington. I think that's one of the challenges we have as a region. People in North Texas are accustomed to living where they want to live and working where they want to work, and that often means they commute 20, 30, 40, or 50 miles a day one way. And I think that's put a strain on our transportation systems. And you may see those patterns change as the price of gas goes up. People may begin seeking employment closer to home. But that underscores the need for us to work and think regionally about a competitive workforce. One of the things we found, and I'll cite a very specific example, Progressive is a company in Arlington that has a subcontract to support Lockheed Martin's Joint Strike Force fighter. They make a big piece of that airplane. They need 400 CNC machinists, they project, over the life of that contract. They start them at $86,000 a year, and they cannot find the 7 they need today. And so those are the kinds of challenges we also face. How are we going to work as a region to meet those types of needs so good companies like this don't have to seek other places where that workforce is available? Because that's just going to underscore the problem even further and make it more challenging for people in North Texas, and particularly Tarrant County, not only to get around to a job, but to find that kind of a good-paying job. So we need to, in my opinion, continue to work together along these paths.
Absolutely, and it certainly goes without saying that if the new entertainment area, including the new Cowboy Stadium and Glory Park, are to reach their full utilization, we're going to have to be able to move people in and out
Correct.
of there in ways other than their automobile.
Absolutely. and that will demand a lot of collaboration. And again, we commit to be your partner as we move that forward.
Everything's still moving along. I know that there's recently been a new developer come in on that bottoms area between what I'll call our side of the northeast part of the mid-cities and Arlington. Is that still moving along?
It is. The Huffines Corporation is behind that. They have an excellent track record. They're strong in terms of their corporate backing. They've gone through the first reading with City Council on the final approval for that project. That's going to be a very, very nice development in that area that was once thought of as the site for the Dallas Cowboys. But it's more appropriately positioned there. It's that area at the far northern part of Arlington that touches HEB. In fact, the HEB school district serves that area, and they're already talking to the developers about doing a very high-end, innovative, experimental public school concept as a part of that development. So that also is going to serve that portion of Tarrant County well. And that's another projected $1.5 billion in development on the county's tax rolls.
We may be able to take care of that.
Any other questions?
I appreciate,
Thank you very
sir,
much,
the
Russ.
opportunity
Appreciate
to
you coming
appear
out.
before the court. I appreciate the opportunity to partner with you. Thank you very much.
It's all very exciting, Wes. Thank you.
Our next item on the agenda is recognition of employees who have basically participated in our education program, and I'm going to call on Larry Wilson at this time to come forward and to introduce those folks who have who've kind of taken advantage of this and have been able to complete some degrees. So.
Very good. Thank you. The court actually started this program in 1997 and 98, and over the past 10 years, over 350 employees have taken advantage of participating by taking one or more college credit courses during each term. I began administering the program in September 2001, and I never tracked statistics on how many degrees had been completed, and I never knew unless an employee informed me at the time. You know, a lot of them did brag about that. Earlier this year, I proposed the idea of recognizing these employees to Tina Glenn and to Judge Whitley, and they both liked the idea very much, so here we are today. I've made an effort to identify all the employees who have completed degrees over the past 10 years. My public apology to any that I may have overlooked, and all of these are still working for the county today. And as I call their names, I'm going to have them stand up where they are and be recognized, and at the end, we'll have them come out in the hall for a group picture. One of the five. Ronald Bobseyshell, Sharon Boutte, Linda Buchert, Jessica Buchert, Cynthia Burgess, Sharon Burris, Tony Carter, Rhonda Del Cambry, Deborah Connor, Ann Diamond, Beverly Dunn, Carmen Ebert, Bill Irwin, Atalia Gardner, Vincent Giardino, Amy Gorman, Felicia Guerrero. Felicia actually has earned 2 degrees. Robert Gutierrez, Rosalie Kerr, Wanda McCarthy, John Murphy, Karen Nash, Joseph Pennington, David Phillips, Amy Renfro, Marion Ross, Jerry Rucker, Arpita Shah, Leslie Smith, Selena Stroud, Dana Tartar, Brian Therian, Ann Trung, and actually he's done 3 degrees so far. Ernest Vanderleest, he has done 2. Jeanette Wallace, Frederick Walters, Cherry Weaver, Kathleen Wood, Dawn Woolley, Elizabeth Wyatt, Catherine Young, Kelton Young, and Karen Younger. And this represents a total of about 49 degrees earned in this time.
Congratulations.
Some of these people I met for the first time today. I've corresponded with them for years, and I've never actually seen them before. So, and we have about 8 more to do this again next year.
Well, we appreciate very much y'all going through this. I know this is something that is it is difficult to do this. At the same time, doing everything that you know the county requires or requests or has you do. So we appreciate very much the discipline that you've shown in going through and doing this. Now, pictures outside.
It's an outstanding program. Catherine Young from my office. I had the pleasure of reading and editing many a paper over the course of her college career.
And she still passed?
And she still passed. And Beverly Dunn at Public Health, I had the privilege of handing her degree instead of the president of Texas Wesleyan when she walked across the stage this past December. Outstanding employees all. We're proud of each and every one of you.
Thank y'all. Next, we have a proclamation. Commissioner Johnson.
This is for ratification only. I move approval. National
Second.
Tourism Week.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously. You have before you the consent agenda.
Move approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously. Mr. Manius?
Thank you, Your Honor. Members of the court, we have at least 6, maybe 7 items to bring to you this morning. The first one, we're requesting that the court approve an expression of cooperation resolution with the Air North Texas campaign.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Your Honor, members of the court, on item number 2, we're requesting that the court approve an oil and gas lease between Tarrant County and Carrizo Oil and Gas as it relates to the county's mineral rights on 3 acres of land, more or less. This is the southeast sub-courthouse in Arlington. The bonus signing is $54,000, which represents $18,000 per acre, plus royalties of 25%.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Your Honor, members of court, on item number 3, we're requesting that the Commissioners Court approve an oil and gas lease with Carrizo Oil and Gas as it relates to leasing of mineral rights, oil and gas mineral rights on county-owned property, which is some right-of-way. This is it's in Precinct 2 and it's in Mansfield. The highest and best offer on this was from Carrizo Oil, and it has a signing bonus of $37,224, which represents $12,000 per acre, and a royalty of 25%.
Move. Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
Yes, I do. It's My understanding that this Carrizo is intending to drill on this site fairly soon.
That's correct. This property, this 3.12 acres is totally surrounded by properties under the leasing control of Carrizo. And as part of the agreement, it's their intent to drill within 60 days on the site. We anticipate using various, actually 5 different currently producing wells in that particular area, and with a 70% production level, that within the first 12 months that we believe our revenue on this will be a little over $20,000.
Okay.
It is the highest and best offer that we have on this property.
Any other discussion? Please vote. The motion passes unanimously.
Your Honor, members of the court, on item number 4, we're requesting that the Commissioners' Court concur and approve with actions of the Hospital District Board of Managers and approve a contract with Hutchison Construction and an associated budget for the renovation of the Arlington Pharmacy.
Move approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Your Honor, members of the court, on item number 5, we're requesting that the Commissioners' Court approve a resolution by the court and the execution of the certificate of the county judge of the county as it relates to the issuance of tax-exempt Series 2008A revenue bonds, which will be issued by the Lavernia Higher Education Finance Corporation to Cosmos Foundation. It's an amount not to exceed $30 million. The reason that the Commissioners' Court is being asked to approve this is because there is work in Tarrant County that will be affected by this. Work will be held be conducted at a school at 5651 West Creek Drive in Southwest Fort Worth, and the purpose of this is also to satisfy the tax-exempt requirements under Section 147F of the IRS Code.
Move approval.
A second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
Yes, Mr. Manius, you didn't mention my letter.
There is a letter attached to the agreement that where the corporation has received a copy of our hub policy and that they're committed to the intent and spirit of its guidelines.
And do we know whether or not any of their affiliates or anything else along that lines have any kind of a non-compete agreement on any of our facilities?
Not to our knowledge, no. This is a private school.
I wouldn't have expected them to. I'm just wondering if there's any kind of a wording that we can develop. I know, just you scratched your head, so therefore, I mean, I figured you must be trying to. That's right. It's kind of like you could buy things in a live auction for something like that. But the question is that, especially, can we put any kind of a little clause in that would say, that you would waive any non-compete or any prohibiting language from either our facilities or the hospital district's facilities. And I'm not holding this up, and we're not going to do anything on that, but I would like for us to look into it into the future to kind of stick that little clause in there so that in case we find out that you had a building that you were, that we were wanting to buy and use as a medical facility and we couldn't use it because there's a competing clause in there, then I'd like for us to try to word that into the future.
Let us work on some language with the district attorney's office and come up with a joint recommendation to the court.
One of these days, they're going to come back to us again, and we're going to be able to wipe out some of those things, but it's going to probably be a while. Any further discussion that's pertinent to this particular motion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Your Honor, members of the court, on item number 6, we're requesting that the Commissioners' Court consider and approve an exception to the county's travel policy as it relates to the tax office.
Move approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously. Ms. Tidwell.
The 7th item You want to do that, or you want me to?
Well, that shows to be on the consent agenda. Are we talking about the EULAs?
I said either 6 or 7 items I was going to present this morning. I'm going to be a spokesperson for the auditor's office, and on item B1, we're requesting that the Commissioners Court receive and file the investment report for Tarrant County Treasury funds for the quarter ended March 31st, 2008.
And he's prepared fully to answer any questions.
Absolutely.
Excuse me for a second.
Move approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any questions? Please
Why
vote.
in the heck are you doing this?
Renee had to leave.
I had to leave, and
And Ron didn't want to get the exercise.
he was just rolling, so I just let him.
Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
That's part of the cooperative nature that we have here in Tarrant County.
Are you done?
Yes.
Mr. Rock. This buzz.
Under item number 1, we're requesting authorization for the auditor to cash the checks we've received from the variety of folks regarding our bus, totaling a recovery of $51,250.
We actually found somebody who wanted that bus.
No.
No, we still have
got
it.
the bus, but we got this money
They're
back,
paying us to keep it.
more or less.
Move approval quickly.
Second.
We have a motion in 2 seconds. If there's no other discussion, please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you. We'll take the matters up after close.
Okay. I thought Mr. Manius was getting up again. Are you going to take care of Ms. Glenn's report this morning?
I thought so.
Move approval to receive and file the personnel agenda.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to receive and file personnel agenda. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Our second item is a request for approval of organizational changes for the county clerk's office. The county clerk's office currently has an exempt project position that the court approved, and we would like that, or they have requested that that position be changed to a non-exempt project position. Previously, this position had been handling financial issues, and they no longer need it in that area, but they do need it in an area where they would have it answering phones, primarily related to the gas drilling, and they have an enormous amount of phone calls coming in, and they're needing assistance with that. And so they're requesting the approval of this change.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Our third item is requesting an approval of an organizational change for public health. The Public Health Department is asking for the addition of 3 positions in their Watauga, easy for me to say, clinic, and this will be a cost of about $47,000 for the remainder of this fiscal year.
Move approval.
A second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? So this is basically adding the 3 positions to support the Watauga Clinic. And this is for this budget year, so those positions will then just roll over into the
Yes, sir.
When we approved the hospital district's budget for 2008, there were 3 positions that were included. They were for 6 months. So this was something that we had coordinated with the hospital district and anticipating that the Watauga Clinic would be open in about this time.
So the hospital district that will, in effect, take over this funding from this standpoint.
That's correct.
Okay. Any other questions? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Our next item is approval of organizational change that affects 2 departments, the Resource Connection and Facilities Management. Facilities Management has a building engineer position that has become vacant, and in order to better meet the needs at the Resource Connection, the request is to change this position to a general office clerk, grade 14.
This person was originally assigned to the resource.
Yes, sir. It's funded from the Resource Connection. It reported to facilities. The new position will actually report to Judy Ketchum in the Resource Connection.
Move approval.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? So is on our organizational changes here,
Yes, sir.
the GOC number 4 is the one that's moving over under her schedule?
Well, it's not yes, the building engineer is basically being deleted, and creating a GOC4 to be assigned to the resource connection.
And that, okay, so we're going from 2 building engineers, 2 to 1, and then we're creating the GOC4.
Correct. I believe that's correct. Yes.
Okay? Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Our next item is a request for approval of the Job Evaluation Committee's recommendations.
Move approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
And finally, we have a request for an approval of a waiver of terminal benefits for the Transportation Department. Their quality control specialist position will become vacant at the end of May. This is the individual that inspects all the driveways and is the only individual that does that. This person has approximately 74 hours of vacation. The cost to the Road and Bridge Fund will be $1,387.82.
Move approval.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion? We certainly need to have this person
Absolutely.
Yes, sir.
up and running before the other one is up and ran off.
Yes, sir.
No other discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Brewer. Good morning.
We're seeking your approval of interim financing for FY 2008-2009 with the National Association of County and City Health Officials grant contract for the Advanced Practice Center program. This is an ongoing program. Unfortunately, their contract time frame and ours don't coincide, so we've been to you before for interim financing, and we are assured that the contract will come through. All of our other requests for interim financing have come through.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you.
Mr. Beecham. Morning.
Good morning. Your Honor, other members of the court, we have 4 items for your consideration this morning. Our first item is a bid award recommendation in regards to bid number 2008-102, the sale of recycled paper. Recommendation will be toward the high bidder, American Paper Recycling, at the rate of $110.55 per ton.
Move approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Our second item is also a bid award recommendation for bid number 2008-082. This is our annual contract for moving services. Our recommendation will be to order on a per unit price basis, selecting as our primary vendor All Points Pioneer, our secondary vendor Berger Texas Incorporated, as our alternate Garrett Transportation. The bids that we received from Wilson Office Interiors, Move Works, Craddock, Move Solutions, and Bueller Transfer and Storage should be disqualified for not turning in our addendum in regards to insurance requirements. And the bid that we received from a group called the Arlington Installation Group should be disqualified since they had their status as a motor carrier and commercial carrier revoked by the Texas Department of Transportation on 3/18/08, which was prior to the bid opening date of 4/7/08.
Maybe it happened after they submitted.
They were disqualified before the bids were turned in, unfortunately.
Move approval.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Our third item is another bid award recommendation for bid number 2008-077. It's our annual contract for tools. Our recommendation would be to order on a per line item basis with including discount, selecting as our primary vendors Colonial Hardware and O'Reilly Auto Parts.
Move approval.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any questions? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Our last item is also a bid award recommendation for bid number 2008-083. This is our annual contract for Type 1 Portland Cement. Recommendation would be to award on a per unit price basis. Select as our primary vendor Ash Grove, Texas, which is a new vendor in Midlothian, as our secondary vendor TXI.
I second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
Yes. This new vendor in Midlothian, when they burn their waste materials in their kiln, is it a clean operation, or are they adding to the air pollution?
We've not had a
that
site.
blows up this way from Midlothian. from
We've
the
not
other
had a
kiln?
site visit, but we did concur with, talk to all the precincts, and in fact, TC was most supportive of this new vendor. We only had one vendor last year.
That doesn't answer my question.
I'm not,
We may not like what they do, but they can't continue to do what they're doing without the approval of the state. And until the state does something about it, they get to continue operating in the ways that we don't like.
But they don't get to count on my vote.
They won't have that.
Any other discussion? Please vote. Motion passes 4-1.
thank you.
Any appointments today, court members? And you have before you the claims, including the addendum.
Move approval of claims, including the addendum.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the claims, including the addendum. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously. Mr. Manius, do we have any other briefing items?
Not at this time, Your Honor.
The Mayor of the Commissioners Court will now recess the open session and proceed to closed session to discuss items exempted under sections 551.071, 072, 074, 076, and 087 of the Texas Government Code.
Well, they have to do it manually.